Volume day 2, we are learning 3 more types of shapes: cones, pyramids, and spheres. And compared to yesterday, cones, pyramids, and spheres are a lot easier because their formulas are more straightforward. And once you get the hang of the capital B variable, which is kind of new, it makes these seem a lot easier. So the first thing we're gonna look at is a cone. The formula is 1/3 pi r squared h. So if you notice, it's kind of like the cylinder formula, pi r squared h, just with a 1/3 in front. And don't overthink these parentheses and this multiplication. It could just be written 1/3 pi r squared h. It's just all multiplied together. Looking at my shape, my r is 5. Remember, my height has to be completely vertical. I don't want to choose the 13, that's called the slant height. I want to choose the actual height of the shape, which is 12. So then I have 1/3 pi r squared h. Just be careful, make sure you don't forget about that fraction 1/3 in the front. That's really easy to forget about. And we get 314.2 units cubed. All right, for the next one, we have another cone we're looking at here. My radius, hopefully you can see, is 3. Oh, that marker's dead. My radius is 3. My height, again, is vertical, it's 4. So I'm taking 1/3 times pi times r squared times 4. 1/3 times pi times 3 squared times 4. And your answer comes out to be about 37.7 units cubed. All right, next one is a pyramid. So if we look at the pyramid, you'll see that this capital B variable comes back. Remember that that stands for the area of the base. In a pyramid, your base could be a rectangle, it could be a square, it could be a triangle, it could be anything except for a circle. So if we take a look at this, my base is whatever it's sitting on, so a pyramid will always be sitting on its base, otherwise it couldn't stand. So my base here is a square. The area of that square is 8 times 8, which is just 64. Remember, the height has to be completely vertical, so if my height is completely vertical, I'm looking at that length of 3 right in the middle there. Now, an easy mistake to make is to get used to that prism formula and just do b times h, but notice this is a 1/3 b times h. So it's just like that volume formula for a prism, but there's a 1/3 in front. It's 1/3 of the volume. And the 1/3 and the 3 in this case just cancel out, so we end up with 64 units cubed. In the next pyramid, you should notice that our base is a little bit different. Now our base is a right triangle. So now my my area formula, instead of being base times height, since it's a triangle, is 1/2 base times height. In this case, my base will be 5, my height would be 13, my base could be 13, my height could be 5. They're perpendicular, so they're interchangeable either way. If you have a hard time looking at it this way, feel free to redraw the base with the dimensions, and it might make it a little easier for you to visualize. So if I take 1/2 times 5 times 13, I get 32.5 for that capital B value. My height, hopefully is easy for you guys to see, is going to be 16. And I can sub it into my formula. 1/3 times capital B times H. And it comes out to be about 173.3 units cubed. Now I think this last formula might be your favorite of all of them because it is the absolute easiest because there's only one variable. So the formula for a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Again, you don't need that times symbol in there. It could just be written as 4/3 pi r cubed. Looking at this, hopefully you can tell my radius is 3. So the only tricky part really is making sure you put it in your calculator correctly. So go ahead and try that. I got about 113.1 units cubed. And our very last one, just a little bit different because my radius is 6 this time. Again, double check on problems. You might get a diameter instead of a radius. Make sure you're dividing it in 2 if that's the case. I'm taking 4/3 times pi times 6 cubed. And I got about 904.8 units cubed. And that's it for volume day 2. So you have practice on all these different types of shapes. And the next lesson we're going to get into is a kind of a wrap up of volume. So some irregular solids, some word problems. So the better you are with these simple problems now, where you're just substituting numbers in, the better you're going to be when the problems get a little bit harder.